Hey, it's Kevin here, Bent Rod Garage. Gonna go over something a little different today and gonna skip the intro because this isn't really on my car, but this is on my truck. And it's something that I've come across and been fighting and finally got resolved um, to a point where, I mean, I can actually make a video about it, I suppose. But it's on the overheating issue that I've had on this 4.8 on this Chevy. And I'm sure this will help some people. It's all started back. I started having water leak issues coming out of the bearings on the water pump. So with the water pump and the idler bearings going out as well, I just went ahead and had all that replaced. Now what happened with that, the new water pump got put on. I went and picked up the vehicle after they kept it for a little while. They put about 30 miles on the vehicle. On the way home, I blew out the radiator. This was at about, I want to say 200,000 miles or so. So a good bit of mileage on the vehicle. But having blown out the radiator, I now had to get that replaced. So took it back in and got the radiator replaced. They were real nice about it. The place I got it done at, they just charged me for the parts, not for the labor. So that's awesome. Continued to still have overheating problems. It was kind of intermittent. You know, things would it did okay, but there would be occasional things that would happen. So a little later on down the line, I had a check engine light come on. And with that check engine light, as anybody does, everything was running fine. I let it go. But what ended up happening with that check engine light is I had the sensor, the temperature sensor went out. And that caused it to boil over, actually, while my wife was driving it in town. So that became a problem. I didn't know that's what it was originally. I got there, tried to do a quick fix on it by changing out the thermostat, which is something else I had already replaced. And that didn't fix the problem. So got over to a buddy's house, read the codes, figured out the temperature sensor had gone out. Got that replaced. Okay. Again, back to running normal-ish for the most part. Periodic overheatings, but nothing serious. But I got to a point where I was constantly fighting it again. As we got a little further down the road with the mileage on the vehicle, overheating again, but also noticed water in my floorboard. Now, anybody that drives one of these knows that that's a bad sign. Heater core. Heater core is leaking. Now I got to replace the heater core. So back at my buddy's house, we went ahead, took everything apart, went to replace the heater core, and it was actually just the two O-rings on the heater core, not the core itself. But I already had the new core, 50 bucks, toss it in. Back to again, being okay, but having intermediate overheating problems. And I mean, like, I would go for 4 months with no problems, and then all of a sudden I'd spike. You know, and I've been through the proper burping of the system, you know, adding, because this thing's got a reserve tank. It's just this tank right here. Okay. And I'd fill the reserve tank, but you can't just fill the reserve tank on these things to burp the system or to get the air out of the system. You have to also undo your upper radiator hose right up here. Your upper radiator hose, you got to do it up here. You got to pick it up and you got to fill it from there. And also a couple long drives to get the air out of the system, which my reserve tank would get low. I would add fluid to the reserve tank. Okay, all right. I would think everything's good. Started pulling the trailer, job trailer that I got. Back to overheating. I do know that the pulling the trailer would cause the temperature in the transmission to go up. I was hitting about 203 or so. I did call dealership to check, see where that's supposed to be, and they said 230, 180 to 230 is when you're pulling, 180 when you're not pulling, 230 when you are pulling, blah blah blah. So that's running within spec, but I started overheating again. Well, as you probably noticed when I pointed this out, I finally think I got this thing whipped. Is the reserve tank. This is a new reserve tank. And what I didn't notice with the reserve tank is the cap here is spring loaded. Oh, also, I replaced all the fuses in this box here because I got tired of fighting everything. Thought maybe the fans were having an issue or whatever. But what I didn't realize, and this is what it all comes down to, is when that water pump got replaced, it built up pressure in the system again back to where it should be, which blew out the radiator, which is understandable. I had no problem with that, but not, of course, and also the heater core and blah, blah, blah. But that added pressure has been causing the overheating because all of the other components were of age, basically to where they weren't going to work. And the biggest problem, and the thing that I did not even think about, was the spring-loaded cap with the two O-rings that are on the reserve tank that were causing the problem. It just didn't dawn on me. But like I said, with everything else, that new pressure from the new water pump, I mean, here I am. I'm probably, I would say, a year, if not a little longer, from when I got that replaced. So sorry if that was all in the sun, but that was the problem, and that's a pain in the butt. But I finally, since I've got that done, I've done some driving, and I've gotten the air out of the system. I'm back to a point where I'm not overheating again. Even pulling the trailer and the temperature going up on these hot 100-degree days, with the transmission being warm, I'm not overheating. Finally, it's been a while, but that may help some people that are troubleshooting these things. Um, I peg at 210, 180 thermostat. It doesn't move from there at all, and it shouldn't. You shouldn't fluctuate around. It should just sit at 210. But the one thing that a lot of people, I think, forego, and I didn't even consider, was that spring-loaded cap. That's been the bane of all the problems. So I hope that helps. I hope anybody that comes across this, if you're having overheating problems and you've changed everything, but you didn't even think about stupid cap on there, go for it. Not even the cap. I just changed the whole reservoir. I did. But anyway, this is Kevin, Bent Rod Garage. Helpful hint of the day of these, 2011 Chevy Silverado 4.8s. These things ran for a lot of different years. So if it helps, like, subscribe, check out the other stuff I got going on. Thanks, guys.